I was named after my father, and this is called Donald. It wasn't as if I had forgotten my father was a veteran. It's just that the war that allowed him to be called that was a story he didn't tell, and therefore a smaller battle than being small and too black and too strong before there was a idea about that, and also welfare and the knit of him. Even he stopped being that, because what makes it a war is that it is hard to take off, which is why I didn't think of him as a veteran of one of those things they agree is a war for everybody. Until at his funeral, soldiers folded a flag like they do and handed it to his wife. Not my mother, but his wife, whose idea was that we should remember that he was that kind of soldier too. Which made that my favorite idea of hers ever as his wife, not my mother. And because my father survived a war we call war, there is the sound of only gloved hands folding fabric while everyone in the church tries not to be a soaked sponge, one squeeze away from flooding through fingers. And as firstborn, I am one of the fullest in the church, and the soft pat and ceremonial lie of the America tamed into equal sides by clean white gloves. And men whose fathers were not even born when my father was a uniform is not a sound anymore, but the skin of an animal growing more dangerous the smaller it gets, creased into a weapon that a wife, even if not my mother, must hold close to her chest. So she is the first person in the church it kills when it's finished and its quiet explodes in her hands. My job as his son in this church is to remember everything but say only the right thing. And I'm good at that, even when I don't want to be, which is not like being good enough at it sometimes. So one of the things I don't say is the time he took me to the second job he had while the first job didn't pay enough at the post office to keep me in Catholic school, to keep my smart from becoming dumb in a closer school. Although not being Catholic in a Catholic school sometimes made me feel dumb about something I didn't need to feel dumb about. But anyway, the second job my dad went to after a full day at his post office job was cleaning offices at an insurance company, and he wanted me to see where he was when he wasn't at home, like some dads can be after school, and I didn't really care, because now I was somewhere I didn't want to be, just like he was, except it wasn't my idea. That this is how dumb sometimes I was, and couldn't blame Catholic school. But the thing I remember I can't say at his funeral was how the man who hired him, who my dad was proud to introduce me to, clearly did not want me there, because suddenly I had made my father not as invisible as people who clean offices are supposed to be. And because my dad was a kind man, he didn't see what I saw, which was his boss, smiling at both of us, but blinking like a switchblade. If you can imagine that switchblades were probably invented by impotent men, and there's no flag that gets folded for that. I can also remember, but can't say, one of the things about my mother, because my father's wife, who isn't his first wife, like my mother was, is in this church full of sponges, and I will not be a tight hand today. So I will not say, but I remember in a way that I have not become yet, because I am older than my father was when he already became it, which is that time. And by that time, I mean so many times when my father looked at my mother like he knew full well that the heir was prisoners of war, and the two of them were insurrection, and admitting that I am not yet that, because I have not had to be as much as he was, and because he was, I don't have to be, is the only time in my life I want to scream, and nobody in my family, not a one of them knows that I have a scream in me, because I am the doctor, the Hollywood, the poet, and what could I possibly have to scream about? So they sit, knowing I will speak without squeezing more than gently. Probably say something that they'll repeat in the story that they tell about my father, and I wish that they would say more about him than I will say because of him. Because war should stop when you die. And your death, for a minute anyway, should only be about you. So I breathe and wear my breathing like a robe. And I know it is dramatic, because I'm the only one who doesn't breathe like the rest of us. And I can't help breathing this way because I am like the rest of us, but nobody knows it. And there will be no flag for it, and there shouldn't be, because my father deserved a flag, so I would not expect one. And they, my family, expect diamonds from my mouth. Because when have I not been a mountain of pressed black, making it not look like war? But I am standing above my father in the only way I could ever be true. And I know that however jewel I am when I speak, I will actually be a tossed egg splattering into this church, cleaned up by sponges who squeezed themselves more than I did because they were ready to. But they will all miss a spot where I am left golden on the floor. Flecks of white floating like strewn seeds. No, maybe stars, but still seeds stand in an undiscovered universe where life will flourish simply because I was not a mouthful of diamond, but a boy whose father taught him how flinging into the possibility of cracking wide open is how to come home alive from war.